Coach Chinedu here. It's the 21st day of the 10th month in 2025. It just happens to be a truly terrific Tuesday. It is the third rather, of four Tuesdays reserved for October. And as always, we have interesting conversations reserved for you. We're starting with the big stories. Police defend use of tear gas on Free Nnamdi Kanu protesters. The protest grounds traffic and hikes fares in the FCT. Petrol imports still dominates as Dangote Refinery supplies just 40% of Nigeria's fuel needs. Coming up at 4, we'll be talking about police reforms. It's been 5 years since the famous or infamous, depending on how you want to see it, NSAS protest. And 5 years on, many of those demands have not been fulfilled. But the question is, why did the police reform fail? I have a guest join me who is from the civil society space to break it down. And at 5, we'll be looking at the transportation sector. This is as commercial drivers protest extortion by area boys. Yes, indeed. They're sick and tired of losing their money to those that they call area boys. One of those drivers will join me to share their experience. 6 brings the major news. After that, it's open season. As always, don't go anywhere.
Not having a bus
Facts 92.3 Nigeria Info. Sam Chinedu here in our culture of beginning at the beginning, where we begin. Police authorities have defended the use of tear gas on the Free Nnamdi Kanu protesters around a major route in Abuja on Monday. The Force Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyin, who spoke on Channels Television, said the move was in line with a court order which restricted the protesters from converging around Aso Rock Villa, National Assembly, Force Headquarters, Court of Appeal, Eagle Square, and Shehu Shagari Way. He argued that the action was to prevent damage to critical infrastructure in the heart of the nation's capital.
We took that step in order to protect the critical infrastructure in those areas. No matter where you protest, your voices will be heard. In fact, this is the age of internet. People would always make videos and stream and make their voices heard. There was a group that protested along this road some years back. It was chaos. In fact, I remember that the ambulance that was there was burnt down. So we've seen this before, and we need to learn from incidents that have happened in the past. So we would not allow this to happen, especially when we see the red flags, when we get the intel, the intelligence that such a thing is going to happen. We are duty bound to take every preemptive step to make sure it doesn't happen.
They also denied that live ammunition was fired during Monday's protest.
I can state it categorically, authoritatively, that no live ammunition was fired today. Not a single live ammunition. It's very easy for people who are not familiar with the sounds to mistake the firing of tear gas for live ammunition. It makes the same popping sound, the explosion-like sound, but I can say it on good authority that no live ammunition was fired.
Okay. So that's the position of the police, defending the use of tear gas, but claiming they did not fire live rounds. Okay. Now, what everybody wants to prevent, and by everybody I mean everyone who thinks well, because sometimes even among the protesters you have people who do not think well. What everybody wants to prevent is the breakdown of law and order. And while it is a right guaranteed, protected, and backed by the Constitution, that as a Nigerian, you can and should protest whenever you want to, we can't deny that these gatherings and demonstrations can escalate to something else. We've seen situations where people were protesting and we heard that shops were looted, things were burnt. It happens, right? So the police is not wrong to be on edge or to be on the lookout. I agree that they would need to take extra care and caution, take measures to ensure that law and order does not break down. However, I disagree with the police spokesperson about location. If you know protests well, one of the core considerations in a protest is where to protest. I'll play what he said again. Of course, he said you can protest from anywhere to have the same impact. I don't agree with that.
We took that step in order to protect the critical infrastructure in those areas. No matter where you protest, your voices will be heard. In fact, this is the age of internet. People would always make videos and stream and make their voices heard. There was a group that protested along this road some years back. It was chaos. In fact, I remember that
Okay. So if you've been among people who organize protests, the first thing they say is, oh, they will march from here to here. There usually is a route. As a matter of fact, if you have workers protesting against something that has to do with management, they will very likely protest in front of the gate of that company. So since there's need for a masterclass, the location of a protest is almost as important as the protest itself. Now, do not get me wrong. He does make a point that, yes, thanks to social media, your voices can be heard. But there is a case to be made for where the protest is held. It usually is in the proximity where the offense has been committed, because a protest is an agitation. It is the expression of a grievance against something. It means that people are not satisfied with something. So they are particular about where they need to make their voice heard. Of course, the police is right. You must not necessarily occupy a particular part of Abuja to make your voice heard. But the idea that you can do it anywhere and it will still pack the same punch, I don't agree with. So I think we are all together that law and order does not need to break down. There are cases where the police would need to use force. You can't argue with that. And of course, if there's a court order restricting the protest from certain areas, yes, it's enforceable, it is understandable. But the reason why every time the police speaks, people are quick to not believe them even before they finish making the statement is because of two words: body language. The body language of the police always suggests that they take sides. That may not be the case, but their posturing is suggestive of bias. And in many cases, the police always appears to be on the side of power and not the people. I'll give you an example, a case study that you very likely have noticed. For the past couple of years, we've had a trend with protest, and that trend is anti-protest. Whenever people gather and they want to protest something, from nowhere, another group of people gather to protest against that protest. It has been consistent for the last couple of years. And I give you examples. When people went to protest that Natasha should be returned to the National Assembly, it wasn't up to 2 very good minutes. There was another protest against that protest. The other protest